Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Rational Islam, the podcast that will explain Islam in a rational, intellectual way. The plan for these podcasts is that there will be 2 episodes a week. The first episode will explain Islamic theology, the Aqeedah of Sheikh Abu Mansoor al-Maturidi, the founder of Sunni orthodoxy. And we will go through his book, his magnus opus, Kitab at-Tawheed. The second episode will explore situations or issues that are facing Muslims in current times. So there may be a topic that has confused Muslims and Muslims are being attacked due to these ideas or views. And so this episode will explain these ideas, these notions from an Islamic perspective, but based on rationality. Now, this episode will be an introduction to Islamic theology, and more specifically an introduction to the Aqeedah or theology of Sheikh Abu Mansoor al-Maturidi. Now, before we go into the Aqeedah of Sheikh Abu Mansoor al-Maturidi, what we're going to have to explore is, where do these ideas or notions, the concept of Aqeedah, the concept of fiqh, where do they fit conceptually within Islam? So when it comes to Aqeedah or theology, they're considered the parts of Usuluddin, the foundations of the religion. What that means is that if somebody transverses in any of these issues, then it is a problem because it breaks into the foundation of the religion. On the other hand, when it's something related to fiqh, they're considered the branches of religion, and therefore transversing in those issues is not considered something that affects your belief or your theological doctrine. So it's quite important to separate this. So in this episode, we are going to be, or in this series, we will be exploring theology. In terms of fiqh, we know there are 4 schools of fiqh, or the 4 main schools of fiqh of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, which is the Hanafi, the Shafi, the Maliki, and the Hanbali school. So the fact that we have these schools in fiqh, the question is that, do we have the same thing in Aqeedah? And the answer to that is yes, we do. In Islamic theology, there are a wide range of schools and a wide variety of views within them schools. So just to give you an example of the different schools, we have, for example, the Maturidi school, the Ashari school, the Athari school, and those 3 schools, broadly speaking, are considered Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Now, in the past, there was disagreement amongst these schools where they would argue that the others are not part of Ahl Sunnah. And even more recently, the Maturidis and Asharis would argue that the Atharis aren't, and vice versa. But broadly speaking, I think we can say that it's now considered that all 3 are part of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. But then separate to them, we do have other schools that were earlier or even later or at the same time as those schools, but over time they weren't considered part of Islamic orthodoxy. So example of that is for such as the Mutazali school, the Murjia, the Khawarij. So there was a wide range of schools who had a plethora of views. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of these schools, not in terms of the specific school. We're going to be doing that through the entirety of this series, but just to give a brief overview to the listener about what they're going to be learning and where the Maturidi school fits in compared to the other schools. So first of all, we have an individual called Imam Abu Hanifa, and he is the founder of the Hanafi fiqh. But he wasn't just the founder of Hanafi fiqh. He also was almost the founding father of theology in terms of branches that came from him from a wide variety of schools. So there's 3 main schools that claim that they are the inheritors of Imam Abu Hanifa, and they are the true doctrines of Imam Abu Hanifa. And those schools are the Maturidi school, the Mutazali school, and the Murjia school. And all 3 of those schools were Hanafi in fiqh. And the reason they lay claim to that is because they have people within their school, instrumental figures within their school, who either studied off Imam Abu Hanifa, or Imam Abu Hanifa studied off them, or a lot of their views align with the theological perspective of Imam Abu Hanifa. So, for example, in the Maturidi school, we have very famous scholars such as Imam Abu Yusuf and Imam Muhammad, who are considered the Sahibain, and the vast majority of Hanafi fiqh is from them. So whenever we have a situation where there's a scenario where, let's say, Imam Abu Hanifa disagrees with Sahibain, there's many instances when the position of the Sahibain is taken over the position of Imam Abu Hanifa. So they are instrumental not only in Hanafi fiqh, but also they are the line through which Maturidi Aqeedah passed on to Sheikh Abu Mansoor before he basically looked at the narrations, tested them, and decided what he believed were the authentic statements and narrations of Imam Abu Hanifa. Now, after the Maturidi school, there's also the Mutazali school. And in terms of the Mutazali school, again, we have individuals who were instrumental in the development of usul, the principles of Islamic jurisprudence, and were instrumental in the fiqh, the development of Hanafi fiqh. But in terms of theology, they had their own school, which was the most rational based theology, which is the Mutazali theology. And key individuals were people such as Imam Zufar. So if you look at the Hanafi books, fiqh books, there's scenarios where Imam Zufar's position is given, and Imam Zufar was one of the senior students of Imam Abu Hanifa. An example of this is when you do wudu, you have to wash your arms and your feet. And the question arose that do the elbows or the ankles, are they included within there? So Imam Zufar said it's not, whereas Imam Muhammad and Imam Abu Yusuf said they were. So that's just an example of how Imam Zufar, he's not considered heterodox in the aspects of fiqh or usul because he was instrumental and his ideas are included in the book. He was also the senior student of Imam Abu Hanifa and died roughly the similar time to Imam Abu Hanifa. And then even, for example, the son of Imam Abu Hanifa, Hamad ibn Abu Hanifa, was also a Mutazali as well. And then we have the Murjia, another school who again had individuals who were connected to Imam Abu Hanifa who followed that school. For example, we have Hamad bin Abi Sulaiman, who is the teacher of Abu Hanifa, or we have Bishr al-Marisi, who is the student of Imam Abu Hanifa. And Irja, or the Murjia, Irja means to postpone, and it was because they believed that judgment about a person's belief should be postponed to God and shouldn't be something that is looked at in this world. And also they believed that actions had no effect on your belief, and your belief is all that mattered, and actions were irrelevant. And this kind of concept, although the Murjia were famous on it, it ended up over time being incorporated into the actually orthodox Sunni belief, the ideas, not the group. The group was always considered heterodox. So that's in terms of the Hanafi. So as you can see, you have three main schools who all claim that they are part or they are part of the Hanafi Aqeedah, so the theology of Imam Abu Hanifa, and they are the true inheritors of the Aqeedah. So for example, there was the famous letter of Uthman al-Batti to Imam Abu Hanifa where he's accusing him of irja, of being Murjia, and then Imam Abu Hanifa responds and explains how some of them ideas, some of the refutations of him are not completely accurate. So that kind of gives you an idea that within the Hanafi school as well, you had these three broad schools that all laid claim to being the true inheritors of the positions of Imam Abu Hanifa. And then in later time, we have, for example, the Deobandi and Brewli school, who again branched off from Hanafi, from the Hanafi theology, or are derivatives of the Hanafi theology is probably the more accurate way of saying it, from their founders, respective founders, which is Sheikh Ahmad Raza Khan Brewli and Sheikh Ashraf Ali Thanwi, who basically came in the late 19th century and passed away in early 20th century. So that is the Hanafi school. And from within that is the Maturidis that are considered Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Separate to that, then we have the Athari school. Again, Athari school has certain branches who claim to being the followers of the Athari school. For example, you have the ideas and notions or the positions of Ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi. You have, for example, Ibn Taymiyyah. You have contemporary Salafis. And the argument was made in earlier times that these theologies are distinct from one another and they don't truly represent the true Aqeedah and theology of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal and the doctrine of the Hanbali Atharis. But to be fair and to be honest, you would say that they do actually all represent the theology of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, and they are the true inheritors of that theology. And if there is any differences in opinions and ideas, then you have them variances in every school. We'll find them variances in the Maturidi school, in the Mutazali school, in the school of the Asharis. So this is very common. So now we have the Atharis and we have the Maturidis. And then the third group is the Asharis. And mainly people who are followers of the fiqh of the Maliki fiqh and the Shafi fiqh are followers of the Ashari school. And the Ashari school came from a scholar who was born in the 3rd Islamic century and passed away in the 4th Islamic century, which is Imam Abul Hasan al-Ashari. And in these lessons, we will be speaking about the Aqeedah and theology of Sheikh Abu Mansoor al-Maturidi, but we will be providing a comparison to the other theological schools, such as the Ashari school, as well as the Mutazali school, and then various positions amongst the scholars who maybe differed with them and were independent. So that is the Athari school. Now that we have a broad overview of the various positions of theological schools, let's look at what this episode is going to be about. And this episode is about Aqeedah. And Aqeedah comes from the root of Aqeedah, which is to tie or to knot. And so al-aqad is to tie firmly onto something. And so they say that Aqeedah is because you're tying your belief or your ideology onto something. So that's the reason why Aqeedah is used or chosen. But the point being that Aqeedah is important, because in Aqeedah we are taught the reason, or we learn the reason of why we believe in God. What is the importance of rational thought? The proof of the existence of God, the attributes of God, free will, theory of knowledge, all of these aspects of philosophy and theology will be taught in this lesson. And hopefully it provides listeners with a holistic understanding and gives them a perspective of how Islam truly is a rational religion. Now, we're going to learn about Sheikh Abu Mansoor al-Maturidi. So the question is that who is Sheikh Abu Mansoor al-Maturidi? So his full name is Muhammad bin Abu Mansoor al-Maturidi. And he was born in Maturid in Samarkand. And his birthday is unknown. But they try and basically guess roughly when it is based on when his teachers died or when his teachers were studying and when they roughly could have taught him. So they try and hazard a guess, and they say it's around 235 to 240 was roughly his year of birth. His date of death is Islamic Hijri 333, or some say 3335 or 334. So around about that time is when he passed away. And with Sheikh Abu Mansoor al-Maturidi, he wrote many books in tafsir, tajweed, Aqeedah, usul. So he wrote books in these areas. But the main two books that in current times that survived were his Kitab at-Tawheed, which is a book on theology. And in there he is speaking about a wide variety of issues pertaining to philosophy and theology. And the other book that survived until current times is his Ta'wilat, which is his interpretations of what he believes is stated in the Quran. So there are his two main books. Now, in terms of Tawheed, what happened was, for a long period in Islamic history, it was not found. It was lost. And even when the copy was found, and you compare that copy to some of the quotes that were made by early Hanafi scholars, such as, for example, Imam Bazdawi, they don't completely match up. So this copy is the authentic copy of Kitab at-Tawheed, but there is some bits that are missing, so there is that aspect of it. Now, in terms of this copy, what happened was it was purchased by the University of Cambridge in 1900 from an individual called Dr. Sethian, and then it lay dormant there because no one realized what it was. And in 1953, an Orientalist scholar by the name of Joseph Shat, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, discovered it, and then he released it in an article in 1953 which was titled something along the lines of A New Discovery on Mohammedan Theory, or Mohammedan Theology. So that was in 1953, and Shat had an idea or a plan to eventually translate Kitab at-Tawheed and commentate on it, but sadly he did not get enough opportunity to do so. And then in the 1970s, an individual by the name of Khalef edited Kitab at-Tawheed and then published it. And then later, in 1980, again an Orientalist scholar by the name of Maurice Pisagno received funding to translate and provide a commentary on Kitab at-Tawheed, but again he didn't manage to complete it. And then in current times, we have the translation of Kitab at-Tawheed, which I translated last year, and that is the first half of it. And the second half of it, I've translated the majority of as well. So I have just a small portion left. So inshallah, hopefully, there are plans to translate that, complete it, and then maybe provide a commentary on that as well, inshallah. So that is an overview of Sheikh Abu Mansoor al-Maturidi, an overview of the branches of Islamic theology. And from the next episode, we're going to dive right into the book, into Kitab at-Tawheed. This will be the first time, as far as I know, that Kitab at-Tawheed will be taught, and I will try my best to try and convey the positions of Sheikh Abu Mansoor al-Maturidi, compare them to other philosophical and theological schools, explain his rationale behind why he made certain statements, analyze his ideas, and explain where he made certain statements and why they needed further development, where he stood compared to other schools in terms of rational thought and revelation. Because generally speaking, amongst scholars and the laity and academics, they always make the argument that Sheikh Abu Mansoor al-Maturidi always took the middle ground. Is that true? Is that accurate? Or is that quite a simplistic mechanism or way of explaining his position? I believe it is. And so we're going to delve into all of those ideas and notions. And feel free, if you have any comments, questions, or even feedback on how to improve these lessons, this podcast, then feel free to contact us on the comment section on YouTube, via the podcast, or through the website, and we will take your feedback on, and we will try to improve, because this is an opportunity to learn the Kitab at-Tawheed, which has not been taught or explored in the entire history of Islam as much as we know. And so this is a unique opportunity. So please like and subscribe and comment and engage, and the better we can do, and the better we can teach, and the better we can explore and delve into the theology of Sheikh Abu Mansoor al-Maturidi and his rationalistic thought, we'll have a better understanding of Islam, and we will know why we are Muslims. Because Islam is the most rational religion. So remember, always think rationally and apply reason to Islam. And don't forget to like, subscribe and comment. If you have any questions or you want any topics answering or talking about in the future episodes, feel free to leave a comment. Feel free to contact us via the comment section on YouTube, on the podcast, or on the website. Whichever method you want to contact us by, we will ensure that we respond in these videos. And if there is a topic that has confused you, has left you bewildered, you don't understand the Islamic response, you are confused about Islam due to this topic, people have questioned you about it, let us know and we will try to provide a rational response.